Welcome to the Marriage Puzzle Podcast with Julie and Thomas Hobby. We are marriage coaches who help couples with pain points about money, intimacy, and communication go from being overwhelmed to being secure in their marriage.
If this is your first time listening to us, thanks for checking out our podcast. And don't forget to subscribe and leave us a rating and a review. Let's dive into this episode. Hey everybody, thanks for checking out another episode of the podcast with us. We are on episode 48, talking about appreciation, encouragement, and support in this episode. And I say we, but I'm actually speaking on behalf of myself and my wife, Julie, as she is not here in this episode. We want to give you a quick life update and let you know what's going on, and then I'll dive into what I'll be talking about here and let you know what's coming up. So recently in an episode, we talked about a life update for us. At the time, my wife is pregnant. She's 23 weeks pregnant with a baby boy that is on the way. And we recently had a scare with the pregnancy that we talked about. And that led into the episode last week where we talked about things to do when you can't have sex. And in the time between recording that episode and this episode, she went to a doctor's appointment, and then they sent her to the hospital to stay until the baby is born. So she's 23 weeks pregnant. They were originally aiming for like the 38-week mark. So ideally, she's going to have a lengthy stay at the hospital. I know that's not an ideal scenario in most cases, but in this case, when you're trying to keep a baby healthy and growing, then that is probably the best place you could be to do it. So this is going to change some things for us on the podcast for a little while. As of right now, baby and mom are both healthy, which is great news. We're just riding out the time and counting every day as a blessing that baby stays inside of her so that he can continue to grow and hopefully come out healthy and strong. We are anticipating a stay for him in the NICU when he is born, but we don't know. We'll see. Maybe he just decides to hunker it down in there until 34 or 35 weeks, and then he'll get to come right home. So we don't know what's going to happen quite yet with that, but I still wanted to jump on this episode tonight, and I say tonight, that's when I'm recording it, and go ahead and try and help you guys out a little bit, give you some tips that I've been thinking about as we've been going through our situation, because this has essentially flipped our entire world upside down with her being at the hospital. I'm now managing all three of our other kids by myself at home. And I say by myself, but it's not really by myself. We've got lots of family who is jumping in to help us out all over the place. But most nights I will be doing it alone without the backup that I've normally got in my wife. And so I'm already missing that. We're only a few days into that, but I know that this is the best situation right now. Before we dive into what we're actually talking about, I want to let you know that these podcasts may actually look a little bit different over the coming months, as we don't know exactly what's going to be happening in this scenario, how long it will be before she's actually even back home. So I want to kind of run down a few scenarios that we think might happen over the next few months, because we want to still try to continue to bring some content to you. However, at the same time, we will boldly be the first ones to say that we are not going to sacrifice anything with our family or any needs of our family just to be able to bring content to you. So you guys have been great to us and shown so much support, but what things might look like over the next months, the next few months, there may be some episodes like this where it's just going to be me talking. And, you know, that's not ideal from the product that Julie and I would like to put out there, because we love the ability of our conversational topics when we get to converse back and forth on the podcast and bring you two different types of perspectives. And that may not be the case for every episode going forward in this season. And there may be some possibilities where she may be able to join via Zoom. This week, that wasn't going to be possible just because everything just kind of got flipped on its head and we're just having to make do. In fact, she doesn't even actually know that I'm recording this podcast tonight. I haven't even talked to her about it. I just decided to go ahead and do it. So surprise, babe, you'll get to listen to this one later. Another possibility is I may choose to try and have some guests on the podcast that I can interview so that we can still get you some high quality content and get you some different perspectives on various topics. That could be another way that we go over the coming weeks and months. There may be weeks that you might just get a short 5-minute update about what's going on in our lives and maybe just some tips that we think can encourage you. Just short tips. We may have some short episodes over the coming weeks and months. And to be honest, like I said before, since we're not going to sacrifice anything that our family needs just to produce content, there may be some weeks where the podcast just may not happen. And we are absolutely okay with that. And we just hope and pray that you guys will be okay with that as well. But all that to say, regardless of what's going on with us, please just make sure you're subscribed to the podcast on your favorite platform so that you know when we post a new episode. Because even if they are going to be short 5-minute episodes or it is an interview with a guest, we're going to still do our best to try and get something out there to you whenever we're able to. And as that happens, we want to make sure you know about it because maybe there's a struggle you're going through on a certain day, and maybe it just so happens that we talk a little bit about that. And so if it all works out perfectly, then if you're subscribed, you'll get those notifications. But also make sure you follow us on social media and go check that out so that you can get any tips that we post on there. Maybe if we're not able to post an actual episode, we might still try to put some stuff on social media so that we can continue to try to help you. We're going to do whatever we can to keep some stuff coming to you guys. But again, we're not going to sacrifice any needs of our family to do so. I'm not going to be home recording a podcast while my wife is actually in active labor trying to birth a baby. So just so you guys know that whenever that happens, hopefully not for a handful of weeks or months, I won't be here that week. But anyway, I digress. Let's go ahead and dive into what we're going to be talking about on this episode. Again, I keep saying we because so often, every single week that we've done this podcast, my wife has been sitting right across the table from me. So this is a little awkward for me to just be just the single talking head here. So, but I wanted to talk to you about 3 things in this episode that every marriage needs. Now, we've talked before about 3 things that every marriage needs in, the 3 legs that every marriage stands on in money, sex, and communication. And we fully believe that. But there are some other things that marriages need frequently as well. And the 3 things that I want to talk about in this episode are appreciation, encouragement, and support. These are all such simple things, and yet I know they can all be very difficult to do as well. So I'm going to explain why these are important, and also I'm going to try to get a few brownie points from my wife for myself by giving some examples of how you can do these, because I know my wife's going to be listening, and I'm sure that she will love that. So number 1, appreciate your spouse. Think of something that you can say thank you to your spouse for. If you haven't been doing this recently, just start with something small. Thank them for washing the car or cooking dinner or something like that. So just find some place to start to just be able to say thank you. And you would be surprised at the momentum that will start. Once you do it for something, you'll start to see other things that you can thank them for. Once they start feeling that appreciation, most likely they're going to start reciprocating that to you. So if it's something that you feel is maybe missing that you need to hear, start doing it first, and I'm sure that you'll start getting some thanks back from them at some point along the way. I don't want that to be your motive necessarily, because we should always continue to just build our spouse up. But we need to be built up as well. So there's kind of a fine line to walk with that. But make sure that you start somewhere. Start thanking them for something, even if it's just an everyday thing that they always just take care of. It will be amazing. In fact, for a long time, and I don't say any of this to toot my own horn, but my wife isn't here to say it, so I'm just going to do so. For a long time, as far back as I can remember, at least since our kids have been born, every night, I shouldn't say every night, almost every night, when my wife makes dinner, when we sit down at the table, I always thank her for cooking dinner. And that's just been something that, because I appreciate it, but also I'm trying to set an example for my kids too, and they start picking up on that, and they start thanking her as well. And so if you have kids at home, that could be a simple place to start. Just thank the other person for making dinner, and that's just a good place to start. But the example I want to give you of that I kind of had in my notes to give you was, I just want to say, Julie, thank you for thinking of me, even with everything that is going on with you right now. Tonight, I'm recording this on June 5th. In fact, it's actually my birthday, and my wife was in the hospital on my birthday. I can't remember the last time I spent my birthday away from my wife, so that was a little strange, but she somehow encouraged the kids to make cards for me even without her being here. I don't know if she did that before she went to the hospital like a week ago, or if she just talked to them and told them to do it and they remembered. But I came down to a sign that my kids had made that said happy birthday. They wrote every individual letter of birthday on a separate piece of construction paper and had it all laid out on the counter for me. And it was just really cool. But it didn't stop there. I then went to visit my wife at the hospital today so that I could spend a little time with her on my birthday. And somehow she had snuck out of the hospital and gotten me a box of Crumbl cookies. And if you don't know of Crumbl cookies, look them up on social media. Your life will be changed forever if there is one in your area. But she didn't actually sneak out of the hospital. My mom went to visit her yesterday, and she asked them to bring a box so that I could pick it up from her today. So it was just a really adorable gesture that she was still thinking of me, even with everything that is going on with her. So Julie, thank you for that. It made my day today. Number 2, I want you to encourage your spouse. We all need encouragement, but it just seems to hit a little bit differently when it's coming from your spouse. A little bit can go such a long way. When your spouse encourages you, you just get that pumped up feeling, that, yeah, I can do anything feeling, because they know all of your faults. They could take you down just as easily as they could encourage you. But because instead they choose to encourage you, it changes everything. It puts the wind at your back and makes it to where you can just keep going and keep sprinting towards whatever you need to do. So encourage your spouse. And my example of this tonight would be, Julie, you are doing such a great job to take care of yourself and our baby at this time while you're in the hospital. You are so strong, and you're such a great mom. And right now, I'm going to encourage you, while you're listening to this, to drink some more water, because you need to do that because you're pregnant, and then probably take a nap and just rest, because that's something that you can do to be helpful to you and the baby right now. Those are my encouragements to you. And then number 3, support your spouse. This is what happens on the other side of encouragement. Sometimes you need to encourage your spouse, but also you have to support them at the same time. And this could look like, an example of what this could look like is if your spouse is having a really tough time at work. You could encourage them that they're great as a person and that they're going to do great, because sometimes when we get stuck in a tough situation, it's hard to remember that we can do great things. And so that encouragement is fantastic, but sometimes you have to take it a step further and support them in a different way. That could be finding things outside of work that you can take off their plate. This could be some extra chores that they normally do at home, or taking care of the kids, figuring out a schedule so that you can say, hey, if you need to stay at work late one extra night this week so that, and I'll take care of the kids so that you can relieve some of the stress and get a little bit more caught up or make more progress on the project that you're working on or something like that. Now, be careful and don't let that get out of hand, because we don't want to be sacrificing family time frequently. We don't want to get in a habit of that, but there can be seasons where your spouse just needs that. They just need the permission to do that, and freely giving that permission and finding a way to work that out may just mean the world to them, because maybe they're feeling stressed because they know they need to come home and help you. And if you figure out a way to cover that for one night, that could change their entire world. On the other side of that, maybe it's not helping them work more. Maybe it's helping them work less. Maybe you need to figure out a way that you can plan a whole entire date night, a spontaneous date night, spontaneous for your spouse, but it'll be planned for you, where you can just get the kids covered, make sure they're totally covered, and the two of you go out. You have the meal planned, the activity planned, and you guys just get to forget about the struggle that they may be having for a few hours. And that could be everything to just change their world in that season. So oftentimes, supporting your spouse is more of something you do than something you say. And so, I think right now in our relationship, that is exactly what we're doing. My wife is doing what she can do at the hospital, and she is being away from us. Now, we can always go visit her and things like that, but it takes a lot of mental stress and toll on her to just be away from her family. And definitely it's a mental stress and toll on us to not have her around. But she's doing that, but I'm also able to show my support by letting her know, I've got the kids covered. I can handle everything going on. And like I said, we do have a lot of family around us, but this is an area where I can just step up and know that she's doing what she can do and I'm doing what I can do. And we're not keeping score. No one's doing something better or more meaningful. I mean, really she is, because she's growing a human inside of her. But figuratively speaking, we're both doing what we can physically do. And this is just an area that I can step up and help out. So I hope she knows that. I know she knows that. And we're going to get through this on the other side just fine. So that's everything I've got for you guys tonight. So this one turned out to be a little longer than I expected. I guess I have a lot to say when I'm just by myself. So I just want to point out, recently we announced that we just reached 5,000 downloads. And to all of our listeners, we can't thank you enough for the support that you've shown us. We hope that you'll continue this ride with us, even though it's going to look different over the next few weeks and few months. But we just want to keep doing this with you and for you. And so we appreciate it. We've got listeners from multiple countries all over the world, which is just mind-blowing to us that we're just sitting down in our little makeshift recording studio in our home and talking, and it's apparently impacting some people all over the world. So far, according to my data, we've reached 49 of the 50 states in the U.S. Somehow Delaware is being evasive to us. So if you know a friend in Delaware, share this podcast with them, because we'd love to hit that 50 for 50. But I say that all in a little bit of jest about Delaware. We love all of you who are following along with us, and we do this for you. And as always, even though things are going to be looking a little bit different for us coming up soon, as always, we look forward to having you back next time we're together, we'll work on marriage one puzzle piece at a time. See you later.